Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the Womanly Way podcast. I am your host, Lala Angela Wang. Um, wow, wow. Let me just say, um, a few days ago now, it was the Aries full moon. It's intense. And I must say, the aftermath of that from a energetic level, from a spiritual level, I'm still feeling it now. And for those of you in Australia that are or have been in the entrepreneurial scene, you're probably also still in shock in this news about the death of a famous coach, mentor, entrepreneur, public speaker, influencer in the business scene here in Australia. Kerwin Rae has passed away yesterday. I'm still feeling the shock. I think like many people in here in Australia, because Kerwin has so much impact, has impacted so many people here in Australia. But at the same time, he has left the world with so much gift that he's left behind, the legacy that he's left behind. And so I found out about midday yesterday, and I journaled on it last night actually. And what I have journaled was, what's the best way to honor him? He has impacted both myself and Scott greatly. And I even posted yesterday, I think if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be together because of the amount of work, because of his content, because of his materials, his education. I have become a different person. And because I have become a different person, I think I'm able to show up in relationships a lot differently. But I sat there and journal yesterday, and what I have come up with, I was like, and I'm very much about, when someone passed away, I want to do things and live life in their honor, to honor them. I was like, what would Kerwin want? Right? What would Kerwin want for everyone else that's living to do in order to honor him? What would make Kerwin think that, wow, I've actually made an impact and I didn't live in vain? And I think what he would really want, to him, family's always been important. Being a dad has always been important to him. And so, I think continue to be the mum that I aspire to be for George, for my family, but also continue to show up in my mission, in my purpose, and to talk about the things that are important to me. And I actually thought about, do I want to change today's topic because of this news? And as I journaled, I was like, no, because this is all related. This is really all related. I really want to talk about, this rebranding process from going from the womanly way to the way back home. And I can't start this process without going back. So I can't talk about the future, the current status, without going back to 2020 when the Womanly Way first came to me. I've spoken to some people about it, but never in a public forum. So in 2020, the Womanly Way was born. But when the Womanly Way was born, there were a few names that I have contemplated. The very first name that came to me was The Way. And I still vividly remember I negotiated with the universe so much so. I was like, I can't do The Way. Like, how arrogant would it sound? You know, who am I to have a business called The Way? And then it was, I love having words that, is it a term for it? So I love having names for business where, back then anyway, that has the same alphabet. The words start with the same alphabet. So initially it was like, oh, can do Wang's Way because that's my last name. Wang also means king in Mandarin. I was like, cool, even that's a bit too much. And I was like, oh, what about the Womanly Way? That's softer, and that was pretty much my journey at the time. Becoming more feminine, becoming more womanly, and understanding and exploring what that was. So that was something I negotiated with the universe, and I said it's going to be the Womanly Way. Now, I've then downloaded an entire healing modality out of the Womanly Way. And that was something that I've used for many, many of my clients and for myself since 2020. Now, I'm grateful for that journey because of the Womanly Way, I have had the privilege to work with some amazing women in the industry. But there's something that has never really left, which is, my passion about mental health and what I also call now mental wealth. How we look at emotions, how we look at feelings, emotions, and heal from our past emotions in order to support better mental wellness, right? And it wasn't until earlier this year, the calling for me to step up has become louder and louder. And I keep hearing, you need to go back to the way, you need to go back to the way. And I was like, okay, but you need to give me a better path as to what this means, how this transition means. And when I said you or they, I meant my spiritual guides. I'm getting guided to move away from the Womanly Way and step up. I've been asked to step up. And finally, I think it was around my birthday, or just past my birthday, I surrendered and I said, okay, well, if we are to do this, let's plan it out properly. Give me a few more clues, give me a few more guidelines. So let's do this right. Having been in business since 2015, let's start implementing all these things I know. So this time around, we're going to set a solid foundation for this business. It happened quite gradually because that's what I asked for. And slowly I can see the breadcrumbs connecting. I think it was about May this year. My mentor, um, Donna McCormack, then asked me about my big why. And prior to this, I've been journaling about my big why. It's more about helping more women stepping into their feminine so they can support themselves, support their family, and support the community. When this shift happened, I was like, oh, I thought I had finally figured out my big why. And now I had to step up and really think about it. And I thought about all the things that I do because I really want to bring in all the pieces together this time around. It's almost like, let's solve the problem. What was the thing that I have struggled all this time is to link my corporate career with my mentoring business, right? And her task to me wasn't just to come up with my big why, it's to only use very few words, use a short sentence to describe what I do, and eventually use a couple words to sum up what I do. So I journaled on it, and it didn't take me long to then realize everything that I do up until this point is really about bringing people home to themselves and home to the land or to Mother Nature or home to somewhere that they feel belong. And to me, really, that is our heart, right? I love the sentence, home is where the heart is. But if you really think about it, people often say home is where the heart is, but they're still referring to an external space. And my question is, I've always, not always, but recently I've thought about it a lot, but our heart is within us. So why are we spending time looking for a place we can call home external to ourselves when really if we live in our heart, that's our home? And then I think about what I do in the construction industry is actually building people's final home where their memories would be before they return home to Mother Earth, to Spirit, whatever you want to believe in. So I was like, oh, so my purpose is to bring people home to themselves, really. And, with these little breadcrumbs, and then finally everything dropped when I was in Bali, laying in bed because of the time difference. And we were in the same bed together, me and my best friend, Susan. We probably, like, she would be the only person other than Scott and George that I would be sleeping in the same bed together, and she would do the same, right? So that's how close we are. But it also means, when we're at a place like Bali with this time difference, I would get up really early because I'm still in Australia time. And so what I did one day was I was laying in bed. I was like, oh, I think I'm ready to rebrand. And I kid you not, within 3 hours, the branding pretty much came to fruition. I spent one day kind of thinking about what this brand is actually going to be like, having a bit more solid of a plan, and another day, so maybe 3 hours doing that, and then another 3 hours doing all the image, and the logo came out pretty much within 3 hours, and all the branding, like styles and everything. Yeah, 3 hours max. And I thought about that experience a lot lately. It was like, why is it so clear this time around? There's no question, there's no doubt It just came to me. You can say that it's purely channeled, but at the same time, I really believe my experience in motherhood over the past 2.5 years has helped me, because as soon as I became a mom, I actually went into this panic thinking I need to redefine myself. Um, it was as if the moment that I became a mom, the moment that George was born, I had this feeling that it's a clean slate. I get to start again. And I get to be this completely different person. And after my 6-month maternity leave, I really went into this thought pattern that I was unable to find my own identity again myself. So I hired coaches. I hired a coach, a business coach, to help me redefine my role in business, to help me get on my ground as a mom. I had a coach during my maternity leave, and then I hired an extra business coach as I was going back to work. I also hired my good friend Paula Ivy to help me identify through doing selfies who I am becoming. And I did that because it's something new to me and I wanted to be supported by other moms at the time. But also there's a sense of we're in this new territory and I don't trust myself, I don't believe in myself, I don't know myself could take me through reconnecting with myself, which is kind of funny, right? And these were 3 to 4 months contracts that I had with these coaches. At the end of it, if I have to be completely honest, I didn't fully utilize their service. One, because I overestimated how much time I would have, but also I think intuitively, in a way, I knew that there's a divine timing. It's not to say that I wasted money investing in these coaches. It's more that it was a necessary experiment for me. It was a necessary journey for me to finally understand that I have the ability to figure it all out. And that becoming a mom, all it meant is sometimes things doesn't work on the old timeline anymore. And the timeline that I'm referring to now is the time frame. Things just takes a little bit longer. And the main thing that I've learned in motherhood so far is patience. Right? I used to be this person that wanted things done quick, and I had the luxury of getting things done quick. Now, it just takes a little bit of time. And sometimes it's really in divine timing. So, even with my shaving my head, playing around with my hair, it's all part of that journey. It's all part of that self exploration. And I felt like because I'm allowing myself to take more time in what I do, what it actually really did for me was that I was able to feel into it. For the first time around, I would say for the first time in my life, I allow myself the space to feel into the steps that I take. So I'm not in my head, right? So I can actually feel into something. And quite often, this is now the way that I create and the way that things come to me, the way that I manifest is something will come to me. And this is great for me because as a manifesting generator, I do need to let my emotional state, um, that the emotion goes back to neutral. So things will come to me, I will sit with it, and it's kind of like I'm brewing soup. I will sit with it and just really allowing it to unfold. So this is like the rebrand, for example. I'll sit with it, allow it to unfold, allow myself to feel into it, allowing the information to slowly drop. No different than brewing a stew, right? You add the ingredients, you know, you may have to brown the meat first, tip away the water, get a fresh pot of water. It depends on what you're cooking. Actually, with Chinese cooking with soup, you actually have to boil the blood out, wash the meat with clear water, tip out all the water again, start with a fresh pot of water. And then you slowly add all your seasonings, your garlic, ginger, shallot, spring onion, all that sort of things, your spices. If you've got other ingredients in there, you need to put them in there, put the meat in there, and slowly let it simmer. And because I have experienced motherhood in this way and I have shifted the way that I operate in this way, I think it has really helped me rebrand. Um, and I would say this rebranding process started when I came out from maternity leave and stepping into corporate because I had to redefine. I felt like I had to redefine who I was. The truth is, it's the version that I am now is just a slightly modified version of me. If anything, it's a braver, stronger version of me because I decided to step up. But this decision wasn't like, okay, right now I'm stepping up. It's more asking myself those questions every single day, those hard questions every single day. Who do I desire to become? What legacy do I want to leave behind? What example do I want to be for George? And quite often it's like, would I want George to be this way? What allowed me to step into this version of me and speaking so much of my truth and, even just showing up on the podcast and talk about some of the things that I probably wouldn't want to talk about previously. Often the question is this the version of me that is setting the right example for George? And for me, I've always wanted to be one of those moms that allows George and my children to be the truest as who they are, so they can tap into their truest essence and be in their purest form and the purest expression. So if that's what I expect out of my kids, I'll have to do the same, right? No more hiding. I would not want George to be a chicken shit, so then therefore I cannot be a chicken shit. That was the same inspiration when I shaved my head. When I turned 40, I was like, I want to do something different. I want to do something that's a legacy piece. I want to do something with George being there. He was only one, but I want to set the right example from day one. I want to set the right energy, the right tone, um, and really lead by example. And that has really become my motto, my way of living, my way of existing since that moment. Since I shaved my head, it changed. It wasn't just a shave, right? It changed everything for me, because that's it. That's the line in the sand. That this is how we are going to live for now. And I'm not asking everyone to shave your head. Um, in saying that, I think everyone should do it once in a lifetime. It is a great experience. But George has become my motivation, and my hair has become my motivation and my reminder to be who I am, be experimental, be brave. And so every time I go to my hairdresser, she's like, "Well, are you sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's only hair, right? I've shaved it before. Worst case, I can always shave it again." That's become a running joke. But it really is that. I've gone through a divorce. I've gone through a lot in life. And it would be silly to then allow little things to stop me from doing what I do, right? And even down to like some of the business opportunities that has been presented to me recently, and they're still there out there. It's like, is this aligned? And to me, this is the most important thing now. Is this aligned? If it's not, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my resources, right? Time, energy, and money. And really, I think when we start to look at life from that perspective and assessing everything from that perspective, we start to see what is really important to us. And that's really the question that I ask myself a lot. Is this important? Why is it important? When Frequence as a business that first came to me, it was really simple. I was looking for a solution to give myself more energy. I was like, oh, this would be great for all mums. But as I looked into the business more and more, I'm hearing all these whispers about, hey, remember when you wrote Armor? Remember your passion about helping people get out of stress, help them manage stress, help them manage the feelings of being anxious and depressed. Remember? This is the time. And so stepping up from the womanly way to the way back home really meant that I had to grow up, I had to step up, I had to put my big girl's pants on. But what it allows me to do is to help more people, to go back to my why when I first started. Because this is what I believe. In order to live our best life, in order to be the best version that we are, in order to live a life of freedom, we first need to set ourselves free. And the way that we set ourselves free is by returning back to our freest expression, our most childlike way. And that works from a mind, body, spirit, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual perspective. Right, and that's why health for me is so important now, because without health, without your mental health, without your emotional health, without your physical health and your spiritual health, you are unable to be who you are. And health in all four senses is to return you to your original state. You turn your body to how it's designed to be, to its original state, which is the most perfect. When we're created, I truly believe that we're all created in perfection. It's our environment that killed us, right? That killed our guts, that killed our health. Same thing with your emotions, same thing with your mental state of being, and then your spiritual way of being. So the way back home is about bringing us back home to our heart, to how we are created, to the state of homeostasis. So we can tap into our highest vibration and our highest frequency. And I wouldn't have come to this understanding if I haven't trusted my journey, and if I haven't learned it the hard way, that sometimes we just need to take things slowly in order to listen more, to feel more. And the more that we stay in the present, and this is what George has taught me greatly, the more that we stay in the present, the more we are able to hear the whispers of the universe, the whispers of what spirits are trying to tell us, the whispers of our path that is calling us. And I truly believe it is that shift that allowed this rebranding to be so smooth for me. It's having patience, it's being present, and open to receive as a student in every single moment of my life. So if you are in the same position of where I was, if you have currently or recently gone through a transition in your life, and you're like, I'm feeling a bit lost, I don't know who I am anymore, I needed to re-establish who I am, I would recommend to really anybody that are going through that, to really do these simple things. Be patient. Number one, learn to be patient. Two, to stay present and listen and stay connected and stay curious. But also, there are a couple questions you could ask yourself, right? What's important to me? What's important to me? What do I believe to be true right now? What are my boundaries? What are my values? Where are my no-go zones? What makes me truly happy? What do I desire to share with others? What skills do I have that I can help others with? How would I describe myself in front of strangers? And then lastly, what legacy do I really want to leave behind? Very cliche, but bringing back to how we started this podcast, if you found out that you only have a year to live, what legacies do you want to leave behind within the next 365 days? What would you do in order to leave that legacy behind? And what would you want to see on your tombstone? What would you like to hear people say about you in your funeral, on your, during your funeral? Those are questions that I ask myself, not all the time, but every now and then. And that really helped me stay focused in what's important to me. With my career, with my personal brand, with my business. Because let's be honest, it's hard right now. Everything's hard right now. Like the construction industry isn't easy right now. Going through the company restructuring, it's not easy. Being a working mom isn't easy. And running a business, like just running a business on its own, it's hard enough right now. Yet, to have a career, to be a mom, and to run a business, it's bloody hard, right? And there are days that I really want to give up. There really are days that I really just want to give up. And it is these questions that remind me every single day why I do what I do. It's people like Kerwin, it's people, that shows up in my life that continue to inspire me every single day. It's those whispers from the universe, from my guardian angels, from spirits that just keeps me going. And I hope by asking yourself these questions, it keeps you going too. Just keep going. Because as long as you're keeping going, you will get there eventually. And I'm kind of going in a slightly different direction at the end of the show compared to at the beginning of the show. And it's not even exactly how I plan out to be, but I think whether you're a branding person or not, whether you believe in personal branding or not, whether you have a business or not, it is always important to ask yourself those questions so you stay on your path. Right? And I really think that's what the way back home really is, to bring everyone back onto their path. And you can't bring yourself back on the path if you're lost and if you're not healthy in your mind, in your spirit, in your mental plane, in your emotional plane, and your physical plane. So stay healthy, stay open, stay curious. And these are the 3 magic ingredients that will bring you home to your heart. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.